So I'll just give a brief introduction about what exactly is Tableau used for, or what exactly Tableau is. So Tableau is a visualization tool. And from what I mean by saying it's a visualization tool is that there are lots of instances when people have a lot of data with them. Be it in a company or any organization or any kind of setup. You have a lot of data with you, and then you want to make sense out of that data. So you want to see, no matter what kind of data is it, if it could be bookings data from a hotel industry, or a sales data from a retailer, or even any of those telecom industries would have their call data. So they just want to understand the data and then make a sense out of that data, and then put it across in a visualized manner, put across the visualizations which people could understand easily, and also take business decisions based on it. So that's the whole idea of having Tableau, or any other reporting tool for that matter. So, look, when we talk about data warehousing, so there is, I'm not going to go deep into what data warehousing is, because that's a vast subject. That's a very vast subject on its own. So I will just tell you, there are two types of systems basically. So there is online transaction system, which is the regular system, which is a ticketing system, or any of those systems, wherein a user logs in and does any of his transactions. And there is another system called OLAP, which is actually an analytical processing, online analytical processing system, wherein all the information that is gathered by this OLTP gets sent into OLAP for all your analytical processing and business intelligence reporting. So these are the two main systems that would generally any of the companies would have with them. So one is to run their business, and the other one is to actually analyze their business and then come up with strategies and roadmaps or any fixes that the business needs based on the insights that they get from their data. Okay. So anybody has any questions at this point of time, just before we move into Tableau itself? Okay.
So hey, I have a question.
Yeah. Sure.
So who are the clients who use Tableau? Can you give some examples?
Yeah, Tableau, there are lots of clients, like in the US, there are retailers like Target or Super Value, Albertsons, these people use Tableau, and also there are big banks like Barclays, and there are huge number of clients that Tableau has at this point of time, and it's actually growing. So I mean, when we talk about Tableau, it's not just the traditional business intelligence reporting that you could do with this, but you can also come up with any sort of reports or dashboards that you want on any sort of data, So I will just run you through all those things, like how to connect and what sort of databases that you can connect to and things like that. Okay, so I'll just get started with Tableau in that case. Yeah, so currently when we talk about Tableau, there are two things in Tableau, one is a desktop and one is a server. So I will just tell you what a desktop is, So a Tableau desktop, the one that I'm going to teach, I'm going to show you today and throughout this session, is going to be Tableau Desktop, So Tableau Desktop is basically the one that we use to design the reports, and then design the reports and the dashboards that needs to be seen by the higher management. And Tableau Server is a tool on which we are going to share this information as an URL, or it could be any of the different means that you can communicate. So I will be running through those also. So basically, we're going to be talking about the Tableau Desktop during this session, and various things that are involved in Tableau Desktop, and there are various things that you could do and how to go about doing things in Tableau Desktop. So I just have another question here. Now, probably there is I'm not sure if you know, but there is a Tableau trial version that you can download from the tablewsoftware.com, the desktop version, and you can use it for like 14 days or 15 days before it expires actually. So if you want to download it, if you already have, that's great. But if you not have downloaded it, you can download it from the tablewsoftware.com. Okay, so these are the different things that I'm going to talk about briefly, and of course there is another an additional list of things that I'm going to talk about as well. I'm going to add those things onto this one. So today I'm just going to start, and then I'm just going to build this list up, and then I'm going to run through those things as well. So let me start with the Tableau architecture. You know, when we have any software or any implementation generally would have a set of would have an architecture with it. You know, so Tableau is actually a highly scalable entire architecture. So it means and client server architecture basically. So when we talk about Tableau Desktop, which is the authoring tool, it's also called the authoring tool, or the tool using which you build your dashboards. And as I said, Tableau server is the server on which you share these things. Once you've built your report, built your dashboard, then it has to be sent, or it has to be made available to the higher management, or any of your colleagues or somebody who's going to consume these reports. So Tableau server is one of the ways of sharing your work, sharing your dashboards. Okay. So this is what is explained here is just the picture over here. You know, this gives you an idea about what Tableau architecture is. You know, so what happens here. So this part over here that I'm moving my mouse over. So this is the customer data. This is where the data would be lying, and it could be in data warehouse, in data mart, files, and cubes, and this is the connector. So when I'm going to use my data Tableau to connect to a data source, there are various things that have various underlying things that come into picture. You know, so one is the MDX connector. So generally, when we connect to a cube is nothing but a multi-dimensional database. So when we connect to cubes, there is a particular query language called MDX. You know, so that comes into picture. And when we are connecting to normal relational databases, you know, so SQL connector comes into picture, and then this fast data engine is another technology which is developed by Tableau, which makes which is one of the reasons why Tableau extracts and things like that are fast. So I'm going to talk about that a little later. And then you have these other application servers, you know, so like the data server where the data is stored on. These are all the server architecture, and you have the WSQL server, and you have the application server, and these are the servers. You know, these are the very important components of the Tableau architecture, wherein data server does everything that's related to data on the server, and then you have this WSQL server. You know, this is something again a proprietary method of actually querying the database, which is developed by Tableau itself. Okay, so what I'm showing here is the Tableau architecture, and also as I was just telling you, Tableau's got like two things to it. One is the Tableau Desktop, which is the version of tool, you know, which is used to prepare the dashboards and create your reports and things like that. And then once the reports are ready, you know, we have to share them with the users, the end users. So a Tableau server comes into picture when you have to when you want to share your views and the reports to the people outside, you know, the consumers basically of your reports. So that's when Tableau Desktop and Tableau Server comes to picture. And then the architecture, the way it is set up is that, you know, we have the layer over here that's displayed is actually the customer data, you know, or it could be any database, you know, like I mean, here it shows that it could be a relational database or a data warehouse or the file systems or even a multidimensional cube. And the next layer is the data connectors. You know, when we use Tableau Desktop to connect to these data sources, depending upon what data source or what type of data source are you connecting to, different connectors come into picture. So if you're connecting to a cube, the MDX connector would come into picture and write all the MDX queries that is required. Or if you're connecting to a relational database, SQL connector comes into picture and does all the querying that needs to be done. And then fast data engine, again, this is a proprietary Tableau's work. So I will explain about this a little later. But that also is a type of connector. And these over here are the main components. Like we have the data server, which does most of the things related to the data, and when you say custom connectors, are you talking about custom SQLs, wherein you can write your queries in?
Any custom source, it could be getting something from a flat file, or probably any other custom kind of a situation where, are they open for those kind of things?
Well, the way Tableau works is it gives an extensive list of data sources that it connects to, including the Hadoop and also the ones on the cloud, like the Google Analytics and things like that. So it gives you an extensive list, but then there are some things, probably if you have any proprietary tool which you want to connect to and all those things, there might be some engineering that is required. But it doesn't provide you right away connected to something different. But it does include a whole list of things. Yeah.
Okay. So unlike it doesn't have a architecture where it can actually let you write your own connectors.
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's clear. Yeah, I'm just trying to get these kind of differences because when we work with the customers, it really helps.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Sure. And we have these the data servers, and then the WSQL server. The WSQL server is again a proprietary server, which Tableau has developed, and they claim, Tableau claims, which because of this WSQL, that it is able to render the reports faster than most other tools, So and we have this application server. Application server comes into picture when you have deployed or published a report and you're trying to manage the security and the permissions on the report. That's when those things are taken care of by the application server here. And then you have the gateway or the load balancer. So this is basically when you have a architecture wherein you have multiple primary node and then a lot of worker nodes coming into picture. When you have a big, large installation of Tableau server and there are lots of requests coming in. So how does this is the gateway or the load balancer is a part of the server which actually does all the balancing. And how can the end user view these reports? There are various ways, either through the desktop, which is the Tableau Desktop, or you can also use the mobile. You can view these reports in mobile applications, mobile devices, handheld devices, or iPads, or also on the browser. I'm sorry. Oh, it's got its own. It's got its own web server.
So is that scalable? Is that because that's a lot of the times when you use a custom web server, the scalability kind of becomes a question, right?
Yeah. But this is actually scalable. So Tableau servers are actually pretty scalable, and then they have a lot of different options, which helps it increase its scalability actually. So it is scalable, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So as I was talking about Tableau Desktop and Tableau Server, so there are two different things. Tableau Desktop is the one which we're going to use to create our visualizations and actually create all those desktop dashboards and things like that. So again, it just tells you that what all you can do. You can have different types of interactive reports, wherein you can create some like beautiful dashboards and then have your filters and groups and drill down and up care of things done using Tableau Desktop. Okay, so and when we talk about Tableau Desktops, so I'm going to bring up the desktop in a minute. But before that, so these are the main things, which is their, workbook and a worksheet, So I can probably start bringing it up. Yeah. So what you're seeing here is the Tableau Desktop, version 8. So, and I was just talking about the workbooks and the worksheets. So when we say workbooks, this whole thing, when you create a dashboard and all, and you save it as a workbook. So workbook is much like an Excel, like a Microsoft Excel workbook, which contains multiple sheets, and then we can create a lot of dashboards using those multiple sheets, and then you have all those things, and then you save that. That is called a workbook. So a Tableau file is generally a Tableau workbook, so and then with an extension of TWP. And then you have worksheets. So each workbook can contain like multiple worksheets and dashboards. So a sheet is a place wherein you actually create your report. The report building goes in, happens inside the sheets, and you have all the things. Once you have all the sheets, all the report, all the charts that you want to build in the sheet, then you put multiple of those into a single dashboard, and then you have a dashboard which is then allows you to interact between these different reports, or view these reports as in a single dashboard next to each other. Okay, so I've just taken you through this interface over here. So this is the Tableau's interface, which allows you to actually go and connect to different databases, data sources. So as you can see, these are the different data sources that it allows you to connect to. And these gives you live connections to these data sources, except the ones on the cloud. So anything on the cloud, it is going to create an extract and then connect to that. But otherwise, all these things would provide you a live connection to the data source, any of these data sources. So any questions still here? Anything that you would like me to explain more on or something? Okay. Sure.
Sounds good, Prashant.
Yep, good. So I'm going to start. I'm going to try. I'm going to show how to connect to a data source here, so it might be. And again, as you see here, Tableau comes with the sample data sources, which is like Excel and Access. So we can actually connect to one of these. So you can either choose to do this here, and then take it to the path where you have the files located, or you can actually, for now we can just take this which comes along with Tableau. So now this is actually the Tableau desktop, the interface, basically how an interface looks like. So what I'm going to do is, so this is, I've just called out some things, which is what over here. So what is what? So here the one that you would see here is the data window. This is where you would see all your data connections actually coming up. This data source, different data sources that you've connected to would appear over here, and you have these things. These are called the panes. You have these dimensions, measures, and then the cards over here, and then this is the actual worksheet where all the work happens. And you have this row and the column shelves, and these are called the marks cards over here. Okay. So as you saw, what Tableau does is, you do not really need to do any modeling on your database or on your data source to connect to start working with it using Tableau. So what all I did was connect to this Excel sheet, and then it has given me this list of dimensions and the list of measures, which it automatically finds out these things and then puts them into its respective section. But how it finds out, so what, and before that, like what is the dimension, what is the measure? I just want to brief about that. So dimension is anything that is that gives you a header. It's like a categorical information. So generally, a city, a state, or a time. So or the dates, all these would be the dimensions in your data, and all the numeric values, like the sum of the sales or any of the cost, the discount, and all these things, they would form the measures. So while Tableau does this for us, it segregates these two things and puts them into its respective section. One thing that it does is, there might be some information that might be wrongly categorized. So because anything that it sees numeric, it will try to put that into a measure. So there might be some things that you might have to move around. So like this here row ID is not exactly a measure, so it could be a dimension. You can just move that, and it gives you the option to move these things around. Okay. Yeah. So this slide, I just have these things listed out here. What is each of these things, what each of this does. So like column shelf. That's where actually we put all the columns. So whatever report you want to build, and what columns does your report have, and what rows, what are the different rows that it has. All these things goes into these two shelves over here called the row and the column shelf. And then the filters. Filters is basically here. This is what you see is a filter shelf. So it's very easy to create these filters in Tableau, and also like you have the measure values. I'll talk about that as I just create a small graph for you guys. And then with filters and parameters. Parameters is a separate thing altogether. So I'm going to explain about that. So this is, and then the marks. So these are called the marks. So there are different types of marks. You have the color card, and you have the size card, the text details, and the tooltip. So any questions on the interface till now? No? Okay.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yep. Okay. Cool. I'll just also what we have connected directly to the sample source that was appearing over there here, and we tried connecting. So also what we could do is we could actually go ahead and connect to these things in a different way. Like just go here and then go to Tableau repositories. So and choose the data source, and you can actually tell where the file is actually located, and then you can open that. So I just open this. I'll just click on this, and then when I do this, it generally gives me this pop-up. It tells me how do you really want to connect to it. Is it a single table, or as you can see, there are multiple sheets in this data source. So each would be considered as a table, and it's going to ask me whether you want to connect to a single table, or you want to join multiple tables, or you want to write your own custom SQL. So these are the different options that it gives, and then since it's an Excel, yeah. Well, how do we handle? How exactly? What? Can you just elaborate the question a little bit? Yeah, numeric data. Okay. Yeah, month, days. Okay. So Tableau actually, I will show you. I will connect to this, and I will show you how Tableau creates its own date hierarchy. So dates, if you have any order date or something like that, it gives you a hierarchy where you can actually drill down right from the year till second, basically. So you can Tableau builds a hierarchy for you, which you can use in your reports. So I will just show that to you. And numeric, probably what I understand, like what I understand from what you asked was like numeric. There might be the sales information, or the discount, which are numeric fields. So these would automatically be considered as measures when it connects and fetches the data. Non-numeric, okay, sorry, okay. Yeah, so non-numeric fields are the ones, columns are the ones that would be considered as dimensions here. So those would be categorized as dimensions, because it will, when you use a non-dimension, when you use that, it gives you a header in any of your, in your report, in your graph. Yep. So I'm going to, and since this is an Excel sheet, this is a simple thing. It's going to ask whether you have the data in the first row and things like that. So then you can actually rename the name, or give a different name to it, so that's one way. And then it's going to ask whether you want to connect live, import all your data, or import some of your data. So this is something like, if you want to connect live, when you connect live, you're actually connected live to the database itself. So in this case, the Excel spreadsheet. Or if you want to import all the data, what Tableau does is, it actually fetches all the data from the spreadsheet and then puts it into its own data engine, and it creates a file called TDE, which means the Tableau data extract file, and then connects to that instead, and then works on that. So there are different times when you can actually, different scenarios that you can go for each of these, and import some of the data. Well, this is because you can actually connect to, generally when if you're developing some dashboard and you are working on a large data set, you want to really start your development with a small set of data, so you can actually give import just a small set of it and then subset of it and then start working on it. So those are the three options that Tableau gives you. So to connect live. So now you saw that you have this superstore concept, superstores. So you have this data sources connected here. So when we have multiple data sources, if you have multiple data, you can add multiple data sources here, and all those data sources would list over here, and it will tell you like what are the different data sources that you have, and then all the dimensions and measures from those data sources. Okay. So that's what I was just going through. This is what I did. Connected to the data sources, selected one of the sources, and then and these are the basic differences between the live connection and the in-memory. So live connection is when you can actually have, you might be having live connections would work just fine. When you have a really fast database, or you have some OLAP engine, which is built cubes for you, and it's all very fast. So that's when you usually go for the live connection. So and when you want your report to be actually like a real-time report, wherein underlying data is changing all the time, and you want to have the latest data come showing up in your report. So that's when you generally go for live connection. But then what happens is there are most of the times you have huge databases and really big, like large number of records that come up. So and these things slow down when you connected live to it. So that is when actually you can go for this in memory. So Tableau offers it's a very fast in-memory data engine. So what it does is it fetches all the data, and then it compresses it, and it's got its own algorithms that it writes, and then compresses the data, and then keeps it as a TDE, which is a TDE file, and then connects to that. And so it's pretty fast when compared to live connection when you're dealing with large, huge data sources, data sets. So any questions here? Okay, so I'm just going to run through the basic data types that Tableau provides us with. So as you can see, whatever numeric, so whatever number fields that it finds in the database, it categorizes them into integers or float, based on whatever kind of data it's finding. And then you have the dates and you have the strings. So data, how you can identify what data type it is, is used by this the icon that is next to each of the fields that we have. So you can have this what a small calendar would tell you that it's a date, time, or a date value, and ABC would say that it's a text, and things like that. So yeah. So here, there's an example here provided here, which says, probably in our database, we're just saving date field in a very different format, with just like a numeric field, We might not be keeping it in any format, but just like 01, 02, and 2005 or something like that. So it might actually identify it as a different data type. So these things you would have to make sure that you are getting it right, and then you can actually go ahead and change the type file on the window. I will show that. So this is what I was talking about. So each of this, whatever data type it is, you can find out by the icon the next to it over here. So all these are numeric, and then you have the date, you have the lit strings, and then you have these. These are for the maps, So you have this longitude and latitude generated. So you have those information as well. That's a geographic type of data. So yeah, I've already explained this. These are called the data roles. So what is the dimension and what is the measure? So dimensions typically hold categorical data, such as product types, dates, or any of these things, which you create a header in your report. That's called the dimension. So Tableau treats all these qualitative categorical information as dimensions, and measures. That holds the numeric data such as sales and profits. So these are also generally we use to produce an axis in our report, and dimensions produce headers. So that's how and Tableau treats any of the field contained numeric generally into treats it as a measure. Yeah. So any questions till now? Going fine. Okay. So I'll just start. So I'll just show you how to very easily create a dashboard, create a small chart over here, a report over here if you want to. So now we have the orders. This sample data source that we're connected to is an order sample. So like you have a lot of information about the customer, and then the order date, order priority, and category, and all those different things over here. So if I want to plot anything over here just by the customer or the product name or the product subcategory. So all I can do is just double click this here, and if you want to see the sales, just double click it here, and it would bring this up. Okay, so this what you're seeing is a table, but if you want to change it into any of the graph types, this little thing over here called show me, that's what will help you very easily find out which is what kind of graphs can you really create with it. Just click on this, and this will give you a graph, and then you can actually just create these charts. So this is a simple bar chart, wherein you are telling what product category is selling the most and what is selling the least. And if you want to color it by any of this, so what you're saying here is now we're just having one simple measure, which is the sales, and one dimension, which is the product category dimension, and I'm showing like how is the sales progressing. How is the sales been in these product categories. So this is just the sales. So if I want to include the profit also into this, so how do I do it? So you can have it in different ways. So one of the ways that you could do is just bring that up and put it into the color, or just drop it here. So what it's done is it's colored this. It has colored this graph by profit. So what it, and it gives you like how the legend tells you like how it's colored. So it's like you can, this is actually configurable, you can change the color and all those things. But then this gives an option of putting now two measures basically. You're plotting two measures on this for each of this product category, and you actually drawing the size of the bar, the length of the bar, the sales, and then you're giving the profit information by the color of it. So you can easily say here that technology is selling the most and is the most profitable. The furniture sells most next to technology, but is not really that profitable because it's not that dark green. You know, it's very light green, so the profit is less over there. And office supplies, even though it sells less, you know, you have better profitability than the furnitures. Yes, it can also show the combo. You can also make it a combo. So this is just so you can, once you have this, you know, once you have your measures and product dimensions put in on the shelf, this gives you a very, show me actually tells you, you know, what show me does is, you know, show me gives you highlights those things, you know, which is the best you could do with whatever measures that you want to plot and whatever measures you put into your shelves. So basically, you could do a combination chart, or you could do a scatter plot in this case. You know, Tableau is actually highlighting scatter plot here and telling you that, okay, this is probably the best way you can go to see how to plot your profits against the sales. And you can bring in a lot of different things into this and then make it more insightful. Or if you want to go for a combination chart, you could do that as well. Line. Okay, so one thing about combination chart is that you need to always have a date field, you know. So because you, I can show you here. Just get the date. So when you saw, I'll just show you this. You know, so when I brought the date column here, date into the columns here, which is actually a shift date, or I'd rather bring the date here. So you saw automatically Tableau's built a hierarchy for us, you know, it's like year, quarter, and then you can actually drill down into the month and week as also. So now if you want to see the sales by year, then you ask it to give me the trend, you know. So now we have the trend. I'm plotting the sales over here over the last 3-4 years. So also if I want to put my profit next to it, you know, that's when really for the combination, just keep it here. And this is a dual axis basically, or you could also do a combination chart, which is just by dropping it here. So this is a combination chart, you know, when you have it's a dual graph. You know, you can actually change. You can make it a dual axis and then change it into a combination by making one of the measures show in a bar graph and the other show in a trend line. So and when we're at that, and I'll just show you. Okay, and one more thing about Tableau is that it's very easy for you to undo, and you can use this undo to a great extent. So you can go way back using this undo feature and then come back all over again by clicking it. So now I'll just put the container. Okay, so what there is another thing you might have noticed is that the profit, whenever I drag it, any of these fields measures over here, they are in blue color. Sorry, the green color, and this is in blue color, and this is in green color. So what that actually means is, this is again about the data roles that we have, something called continuous and something and discrete. So what continuous fields do is that they always give us an access when we add it into the view. So when I say view, it is this part is called a view. So it's a Tableau view. So this green icon actually indicates which one is a green icon indicates that it's a continuous measure. And discrete actually gives you a header. So here, so this is discrete, and if I get the day to which yeah, this is when probably it'll more help. Okay. And one more thing, what Tableau does is, if you hold Control and select the dimensions and the measure, it will tell you what type of graphs you can actually create with it. So I'm going to go with this. So now if you see what it has done is it's drawn me. So this is continuous, and then it's given me an axis. So if I actually go for discrete, it would plot something like this. So it is actually giving me a header. Flip it around. So this is, it depends on what kind of information that you have and how you want to show it. And generally, when you're trying to plot a trend line of profit over the number of years or months, then it's better to go for continuous. And even the date over here is continuous, so that's why you're seeing. So if I can actually change it to discrete, it would actually bring those things up. See, one more thing over. I'll probably talk about this a little later here. There's a difference between there are two types of dates that you can actually plot. So I will tell you about that. So that's the basic difference between the continuous and the discrete.